I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just make a note that Councilman Trinkle is absent tonight. First item is old business, approval of minutes. The regular meeting minutes of November 17, 2022 were provided for review. Need a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of November 17, 2022 as presented. A motion and a second. Call a roll.
Mr. Garvey,
Yes.
Mr. Bueller,
Yes.
Mr. Clemens,
Yes.
Mr. Brungard,
Yes.
Mr. Studnicka,
Yes.
Mr. Kirby,
Yes.
Mr. Major.
Yes.
Motion passed. Audience participation. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda? No takers. Item number 2 under new business is appointments to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. After advertising 6 open positions, 4 current members of the PRAB, whose term expires at the end of this year, applied. The Lansing Park and Recreation Advisory Board met on November 10th, reviewed the applications, and recommend appointing 4 applicants. So I need a motion to appoint Kevin Gardner, Gavin Fry, Eric Caldwell, and Noreen Lahone to the Lansing Parks and Rec Advisory Board for a term ending December 31st, 2024.
So move. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
How much advertising did we do about needing of these positions? Since we're short 2 still, I just wondered.
I believe I was gonna say, I think we put them on the city's Facebook page, on the big sign along here. I believe so. Then Jason, I don't know if there's any word of mouth or anything on your end too.
Yeah. Sometimes actively reach out to people we think would be interested and stuff like that.
I know it's hard to get involved.
Yeah, we did receive an additional application after the application period closed, so we'll be discussing that in January. So theoretically,
That comes out on D class too, doesn't it? Ken?
yeah. Volunteers.
Anything that, anybody? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Mr. Garvey,
Yes.
Mr. Bueller,
Yes.
Mr. Clemens,
Yes.
Mr. Brungard,
Yes.
Mr. Studnicka,
Yeah.
Mr. Kirby,
Yes.
Mr. Major,
Yes.
Motion passed. Item number 3 is appointments to the tree board. The 3 current members whose term expiring December 31st, 2022 submitted applications to serve another 3 years. These openings were advertised to the public. The tree board met on November 10th and reviewed the applications. The tree board recommended the reappointment of the applicants. So I need a motion to appoint Bethany McGee, Dale Heckmeyer, and Kevin Gardner to the tree board for a term ending December 31st, 2025. Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this one? No discussion. Call the roll.
Mr. Garvey,
Yes.
Mr. Bueller,
Yes.
Mr. Clemens,
Yes.
Mr. Brungard,
Yes.
Mr. Studnicka,
Yeah.
Mr. Kirby,
Yes.
Mr. Major.
Yes.
Motion passed. Item number 4 is request for cereal malt beverage license renewals. Each year, the businesses that hold a CMB license must be renewed by the city and the state. The required reviewing the applications has been done. There are no changes to the applications from previous years. The licensing fee and Kansas state stamp tax have been paid for 2023. So I need a motion to approve the cereal malt beverage license renewals for GMRG, ACQ1 LLC, DBA Pizza Hut at 407 North Main Street, Lansing, Quick Stop at 601 South Main Street, Quick Trip number 188 at 1205 North Main Street, Treat Nevis Inc., DBA Finish Line at 506 North Main Street, and Truman Town Center LLC, DBA Woody's Gas Express at 109 4H Road.
So move.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this one? No discussion. Call the roll.
Mr. Garvey,
Yes.
Mr. Bueller,
Yes.
Mr. Clemens,
Yes.
Mr. Brungard,
Yes.
Mr. Studnicka,
Yeah.
Mr. Kirby,
Yes.
Mr. Major.
Yes.
Motion passed. Item number 5 is executive session for economic development. We need a motion to go to executive session for the preliminary discussion of economic development activities, ASA 75-4319B4 for 30 minutes, beginning at 7:05 and ending at 7:35.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second, call the roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Bueller?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mr. Brungard?
Yes.
Mr. Stednica?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
Motion passed. I need a motion to return to open session at 7:35.
So moved.
Second. She's not even here yet. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, we're open.
There was no binding action taken during the executive session. I have a motion and a second to return to open session.
Okay.
Call the roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Bueller?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mr. Brungard?
Yes.
Mr. Stednica?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
We have returned to open session. Okay, reports. Anything from the department?
I think Matt was going to brief you guys about the planning for fireworks.
4th of July, it's coming up.
Wow.
So we're looking at dates for next year and trying to identify when we're going to have the 4th of July next year. 1st of July is a Saturday. That's when we've had it the last several years. So that's kind of what we're targeting. We just wanted to bring that up, see if anybody had any feedback, if everybody's relatively okay with that, so on and so forth. And then the other piece of it is the location where you guys see this occurring at this year. I know we talked before, I think last year, about potentially having it in town center again. With Bernard Park being completed by that point, to me, it kind of makes sense to have it out there because then we're showing off that new park that we just built. But up to,
I got
Yeah.
a lot of positive feedback last year. With the location that we had there. So.
I did too.
I would prefer.
so if I don't have the property under contract, we'll have it there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, by then.
I think the parking situation is way better at the park. So.
Oh,
With that.
no, people, because they just,
Well, they're just dropping people off
yeah.
right there in downtown.
The
I
one
mean,
thing-
they're both have, well, pros and cons.
They do. The one thing I
Yeah.
would say is that I think there's 300 parking stalls that are being built with the new fields out there. Is that right?
I'd have to double check
Around
the
there?
number, but yeah.
I mean, there's quite a bit of parking that's being built with the ball fields. And then we also have, potentially you're going to have that secondary exit that we could open up for that
Yes.
event.
Yes.
So
Again,
I mean,
that's gravel. but-
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
there's-
yeah.
but
Where would you do it? Would it be where the roughed-in fields are? Like
where we would shoot the fireworks.
Yeah, we talked to, sorry.
My thought, as long as everybody agrees, is the far east end where those fields have been rough graded
Right.
that are potential future expansion. We would still shoot from all the way over there if we can make the distances all work correctly. So the parking lot would be open for people to park in on the west side of the fields. Parking lot up front would be open for people to park in. I mean, there's ways that we could lay that out to make it work better.
Let me ask you this now. Last year, did you have to turn away any vendors because of the size of the street they were in over here?
We got to a point where we closed it. Yeah, where we.
So
I
if we
mean,
did
it's
have
all-
it at the park, there would be a lot more space for vendors.
Potentially, but you have to remember everything you take up for vendors is less parking for the public. So you kind of gotta balance that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's a valid point. I mean, from staff side, we'll make either location work. It's just a question of what everybody wants to do.
I guess the other thing too, because I know you guys sometimes want to think about it and maybe talk to some residents too. As long as we have the date locked in,
Right.
if they want to chew on it, do you think
Absolutely.
we could ask the guy and say, hey, we'll give you an answer on January 5th or December
Well,
15th or?
We could do it that way. What we were going to do is when we want to put the RFP out for the fireworks in December. That's why this whole discussion has kind of started. So what we've put together in the RFP so far says that the planned location is Bernard Park. It doesn't say that is the location. It says that's the planned location. And this vendor that has worked with us for the past, since 2019, I think the very first year I was here in 18, we had a different vendor, but I think Cody started in 19. I think he's been with us every year. He's always been really flexible. So if we decide that, if the council decides that we're going to have it in town center or wherever, I'm sure he'll work.
Date's the most important part.
Yes, exactly. Getting the date locked in is the most important part because then he can block that off on his calendar so he doesn't book somewhere else.
Date's good.
So we'll come back to you guys for feedback about the final location at an upcoming council meeting.
Sleep on it.
Yeah.
Sleep on it for a couple.
Bring it up so you can think about it. So, okay, thank you.
Thanks, man.
Okay, city attorney. Greg, you got anything? You got nothing and you can't even say your mind?
Yeah. Mayor, I said I was mute. Nothing.
Oh, I read your lips.
Yeah, I knew. I thought you did.
So I do have a little bit of bad news. Sounds like the asphalt plant will be shutting down in the next couple of weeks. So unfortunately, the entire intersection project will not be completed before the end of the year. That said, there are still some nice days to be had in the next couple of weeks. So I know the contractor is going to be working hard to make all of the lanes open, to get everything buttoned up. So I believe everything, it'll accommodate the full flow of traffic throughout the winter months. There would just be a 1.5 inch bump where that final layer of asphalt would go. So I mean, they're going to be pretty dang close to being done, but it won't be complete before the end of the year because of the asphalt plant shutting.
Question about. They took out the island on the PSC. Are they rebuilding the island?
Mhm.
But just, they're moving.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But still, you still won't be able to turn into PSC to the left going north on Main Street.
Correct. You will not be able to. That island's being rebuilt. I think it's being shifted
Shifted to the left. You gotta wait the additional.
Yeah.
turn.
to the west. Yeah.
So I don't know, just wanted
Yep.
to- I think it's like 40.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing everything they can when the weather's nice. The asphalt stuff is.
That's the important country.
Yeah, it's like 12 degrees.
They're doing it today.
Hmm.
Get them up there today.
But again, it'll accommodate the full flow of traffic. Just that final layer of asphalt won't be there. So I put in my report. We're looking at doing an update to that ARPA policy we did back in February. If you guys remember that policy, we looked at assisting residential construction, residential developers with sewer costs. If that can spark growth and if the city can use federal dollars to assist with sewer, we were happy to do that. We haven't had anybody take us up on that for a single family subdivision quite yet. And so because of that, there's still a fair amount of leftover ARPA dollars. We had someone reach out to me and Matt about utilizing that for commercial projects. We think there would be capacity to do that. If we're able to do, we were looking at perhaps 40 to 50 for sanitary sewer and 40 to 50 for storm sewer. So a commercial project, $80,000 to $100,000. And again, this is federal dollars, that ARPA money. And I know one of the things Matt and I were talking about too, we talk about how expensive things have gotten in the last year and a half, just on homes, commercial construction, it's probably even more so. So we felt like this might be a program that has some validity. We wanted to bring that to you guys at the next council meeting. So that would be an addendum to that ARPA policy from February that would accommodate commercial and industrial. And I know there's a couple of projects that we think already would benefit from this. You guys have any thoughts or questions on that? Yeah.
Industrial business.
And again, it's that ARPA stuff. It's federal dollars. It's not coming out of property taxes or anything like that. It's those ARPA dollars. I want to clarify that. And then finally, after that work session we had a few weeks ago, we were looking at the timeline and everything with that interlocal agreement. And I know the council kind of stressed the need to be slow, to be deliberate, to be thoughtful. So we've reached out to some of the partners with the interlocal agreement. We've reached out to some members of the board, to some people from Delaware Township. and said, hey, we're probably going to be reissuing that notice just to begin the discussions again. Because like we had talked about in that executive session, or not in the executive session, excuse me, in the work session.
How did that go?
They're actually okay.
Talk now?
Well, a couple things. Again, the council talked about being deliberate and thoughtful. So, we threw out there, well, what if we talk about any type of transition taking place in 2026? That gives everyone 3 years to take a deep breath, be thoughtful, to be deliberate about how we want to do this. And the responses I got were thoughtful in return, I would say.
Yeah.
No one's saying, yeah, let's, do anything together or anything, but yeah, nothing like that. But the responses I received were thoughtful, and they said, well, let's get together and talk with no attorneys involved. And no offense, Greg.
Really?
But
It's a lot cheaper than that. That was that's what they said this time.
But well, that's what one person had said. But anyway, as we talked about in that work session, though, in order to bring everyone to the table, we would need to reissue that notice. Because again, if we don't reissue the notice, they can't ignore us. So we would be looking at reissuing that notice potentially on December 15th, just to get those discussions going again. As you guys recall, though, and I think Judge King ruled this way, we can issue the notice, but we can also rescind the notice. So that's something to also keep in mind if we go down this road for 9 months and say, you know what, I think FD1 should continue on. We can rescind that notice. So I did want to
Or if we need an additional year. We can rescind it and reissue it.
exactly, and I think when we reissue this notice, though. Again, my discussions with the people that I reached out to based on the council's feedback was, we're okay delaying this. Because I think at one point we talked about 2025. My most recent emails to them was 2026. Again, just to give everyone time to be thoughtful and deliberate. So, yeah, you can tell I was practicing this in my head. But anyway, I wanted to put that out to you guys, because again, I know that's a hot topic. So, any thoughts on that?
So we're going to reissue this December 15th of this year.
That's what we're looking at, but I think we would put something in there that says it wouldn't take effect until 2026.
Because the interlocal agreement, Terry says that you have to give them 18 months notice if we don't do it by December.
And I understand that.
I'm giving you the timeline.
Right.
Part of it was we didn't want the interlocal agreement to automatically renew.
So 18 months would be June, July 2024. Right.
And I think
I
that's
just need to
where
understand why we're waiting till 2026.
I think to accommodate the partners in the agreement, to give them time to evaluate the best options for them, I guess.
Because if they renew the interlocal agreement, it's automatic 4 years. Yeah. So if we do it now, we can do it in 18 months, or we can do it for 3 years now. It doesn't have to be 18 months. We can make it longer. That way, when the interlocal agreement is renewed, it's renewed to end when we say we're going.
And that will allow us more time to get our ducks in a row, because we'll have to figure out how to run hard.
Sure. I'm good with it.
Yeah.
But I just need to understand. Did that help? Because it made perfect sense in my mind.
I think the other thing too, and in the interlocal, I think it says a minimum of 18 months, and we're going beyond 18 months. We're doubling that. And I hope our partners in that agreement look at that favorably. But
But if we don't put the notice in, it renews for how long?
if we don't put the notice in, it would renew for 4 years. So again, I
We can't go through this whole thing where we lawyer up again.
No.
That's what we're trying to avoid.
I didn't get the impression, yeah,
We're actually going to talk.
I didn't get the impression of that in my correspondence.
I mean, based on, right, you could talk to it. Supreme Court ruling, I don't think you're going to see any lawyers.
Correct, that's what I
Now
thought.
it's just about how.
My question.
Go.
But that was my question. We no longer are going to seek advice of him.
I mean, it's our intention to sit at the table with them and to start brainstorming and to try to figure out what we can do so we don't have a repeat of 4 years ago. And again, the correspondence was more cordial than past correspondence. Thoughtful, deliberate. Yep.
I'm gentle.
But anyway, Greg and I were looking at that as a way to begin these discussions, because if we don't reissue the notice, we can be ignored legally. That's where we're at. That's all I have, Mayor.
Here, when you get.
I've got to just let it soak in.
But make sure. Let's see. Okay, so going around the horn, starting with Jess.
I don't have anything there.
Okay, Greg?
Mayor, on this day in history, on December 1st, 1913, the Ford Motor Company introduced the first moving assembly line for the world.
Never
And that's all I have.
Greasier fixes to keep it moving.
Yeah, that's true.
And hopefully
Fix
it's
the roof very
more
near.
interesting.
Well, as your representative, Leavenworth County Port Authority, we've heard some announcements that they will be looking for new industrial parks, because the ones that they have now, they project will be full in 3 or 4 years. So at the next Port Authority, which is the 13th of this month, I will ask that they put together a site committee to look at possible locations. They're not looking at extending or growing what they've got, but they want new industrial parks. And I see some opportunity in that.
They got big plans for that one off Eisenhower, Leavenworth, that thing was built 4 years ago and they haven't built the thing in it yet.
Well, I understand it, but they got a plan for the future.
Oh.
And that means, we got to get our ducks in order. There's other cities that do not have industrial parks either. Not a shoe in for any one city. But we get together a Port Authority study group and as a group decide what the future is going to be. And then that will allow us to approach Leavenworth County commissioners for maybe some financial support or support for the future. I mean, it's definitely 3 to 5 years out, not anything immediate. No golden bullet, no tax dollars next year, but we got a plan for the future. It will never happen. And I just want to let y'all know that I'm going to be putting that forward in the Port Authority.
Yeah, so I mean, we're sharing our comprehensive plan and all that with. Yeah. So I mean, we have areas that we kind of designated that we thought, which we've all kind of already discussed about trying to get sewer to. So you know where I'm talking about. Okay, thanks. Is that it, Dan?
That's it, Mayor.
Here, thank you, Dan.
I have nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Don?
I don't have anything there. Thank you.
Dean?
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Marcus?
And I want to put a shout out for the volunteers, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board and those volunteers. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. And the tree board, that's good stuff. Enjoyed the meeting tonight. And with that, I move that we adjourn.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All roll.
Mr. Garvey,
Yes.
Mr. Bueller,
Yes.
Mr. Clemens,
Yes.
Mr. Brungard,
Yes.
Mr. Stednica,
Yes.
Mr. Kirby,
Yes.
Mr. Major.
Yes.
We are adjourned.